is him. I don't have to be anywhere near him.
One of the difficulties with choreographing a fight with as many people as we had in the bazaar is that you've got 15, 25 moves. Everybody has to be in the right position at the right time.
Each move was like a line of dialogue. It had to be memorized and delivered as rehearsed. The bullwhip, the colorful calling card of Indiana Jones. To master the use of this lethal weapon, I practiced on my own time, not for art so much as for self-preservation. After weeks of self-inflicted punishment, I finally was ready to turn it against others. A prerogative of the stunt coordinator is to pick some stunts to do himself. Glenn will attempt to flip the truck over onto its roof. The stunt hadn't been done before with a vehicle of this enormous weight.
Take what we call calculated risk. This is a calculated risk.
To effect the flip, a section of telephone pole would be fired out of the bottom by powerful explosives. Glenn would both drive and detonate the charge.
It's going to do this, I think. It's going to be here, and it's going to go pow, boom.
On his roof.
If the truck should go leave the ground and then pitch on its roof, Glenn is protected by this roll cage.
Despite the potential danger in this gag, Glenn claimed it for himself, as he explains.
Well, I've been doing stunts for about 18 years as a performing stuntman. It's very difficult at this stage of my career to just point my finger and ask somebody else to do it. So I still enjoy doing stunts, so I will perform.
It's taken several hours to rig for this shot. Multiple cameras, some remote control, cover the brief but tricky action.
Great, beautiful, just lovely.
It's not the sensational effect Glenn was looking for. A perfectionist, he'd like another take. But Steven Spielberg is more than pleased.
We got it. You know what? It's realistic. You know what I'm saying? It's realistic. It looks like it went up in the embankment, lost control, and rolled over. It's very real. That's the way it should be.
They never usually do what you wanted them to do. I was hoping for a little bit more spectacular fall.
But in the finished film, we see the director was right. The first and only take works just fine. And so, by the combined efforts of the stunt and special effects departments, we've seen the last of our specially built 5-ton truck.
The second scientific wonder.
From silky and hair so clean it floats, so clean.
Arab Legion ambushes enemy. Just a few words in the script for Lion of the Desert would be transformed into this incredibly realistic action sequence. Glenn Randall was stunt coordinator on this film before tackling Raiders. It took him 6 months to prepare the elements of this complex battle scene. These involved action scenes are comprised of many different individual stunts.
What are you going to do now?
We're trying to create an illusion that the horse was either shot or knocked down by whatever happens to knock him down.
The horse can fall that way?
Well, the key on the horse is you pull his right rein. They've all been schooled to lay down on the left side. Most stuntmen are right-handed and have more strength in the right hand.
Glenn and Terry Leonard demonstrate the bulldog. In this basic stunt, Terry will jump and knock Glenn and the horse to the ground. Glenn's favorite trained horse, Rocket, will fall on cue, then quickly get to his feet again, unhurt. For some viewers, horse falls, a staple of action pictures, appear cruel and harmful. In the United States, however, strict laws protecting movie horses have been enforced for decades. And stunt coordinators like Glenn have a vested economic interest as well as an emotional one in their animals' well-being. Of course, the coordinator is also responsible for people.
You're kind of a safety valve for the entire company. You design things so people don't get hurt. Stuntmen don't have the advantage of having hindsight. You better be right to begin with, or there's hell to pay, big consequences to pay. So you're looking at all aspects of it, from the design of the wardrobe so the man can move properly in it, to the vehicles that he's using, to the safety devices and equipment that you incorporate into your show.
Because of new safety techniques, spectacular high falls like this one in Hooper are now possible. A stuntman needs a keen sense of timing, great physical coordination, and let's face it, guts. Give him a gag with a motorcycle and see what happens. Finally, give a stuntman something with 4 wheels, and you really want to run for cover.
Almost every stunt that's done today, you could look back in past films and say, well, they did something very similar to that or just exactly like it. But to come up with something that has never been done is really a feather in any stuntman's cap. We tried something online in the desert that, to my knowledge, had not been done, and that was to put a cannon in the back of a vehicle and blow it end over end. To my knowledge, I don't think any vehicle had ever really been blown end over end. So we attempted it with some armored cars and pulled it off very successfully.
Well, I'd never do a stunt. I would never find myself in a position to do a stunt. I wouldn't call anything that I did in Raiders really a stunt. I'd call it physical acting.
Wow.
You know, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
I mean, you'd have to.
You've got a disadvantage. See, a stuntman, before he goes into a situation, he could scream and holler and cuss and do whatever he has to do, where you have to stay in character. So when you see yourself just about ready to hit the wall and you're not supposed to hit the wall, you still have to stay in character.
That's right.
So I could try.
You know, the big I'll tell you another thing is that one of the big differences is that you got to act all the way through it.
That's right.
And it takes twice as much energy as if you were just doing the physical part of it.
With his world actually crashing down around him, Buster Keaton made it look so easy. Like Keaton, many stars of the silent era not only did physical acting, but also their own stunts. The popular comedian from England, Monty Banks, made numerous two-reelers filled with truly death-defying predicaments. stuntmen hadn't come into their own as yet, and besides, producers reasoned, why pay for another player? The great Lillian Gish, of course, didn't have to go on the ice, but she wanted authenticity in her films. As for the irrepressible Douglas Fairbanks, well, seldom if ever would a double be found on his set. Rightfully proud of his athletic prowess, he'd charmingly convince his fans and himself that he was the Black Pirate, the Thief of Baghdad, Zorro. Indiana Jones isn't quite as flamboyant as a Fairbanks character, but in the struggle for good over evil, they share common bonds. Perpetual underdogs, they're blessed with superior wit and a lot of luck. There's another tradition from action films of yore to which Raiders pays homage. No matter how much Indiana gives or takes in a fight, he never loses his hat. Years ago, with short shooting schedules, no one could bother trying to match action film the day before. It was just simpler for everyone if the hero kept his hat on in every shot. It also handily covered the double's face in stunts. Looks like Marion and Indiana are in big trouble again. All they wanted to do was hijack the Nazis' plane. Now it's accidentally started moving. A tanker of gasoline is beginning to flood the field. Enemy troops are attacking, and Marion's trapped in the cockpit. Can Indiana get her out in time? Can they get away before they're incinerated? It's a cliffhanger, all right, but you won't have to wait till next week to find out what happens.
It's about time. Now there's long-lasting lid color and a pencil announcing Maybelline.
Raiders were borrowed from serials. Some, like dialogue and staging, had to be left behind.
You know me? The next time it'll be in here unless you tell me where you're going.
Hampered by low budgets, the filmmakers could only try their best. Exciting action outlined in the script was seldom very convincing when it reached film. But of course, the kids at matinees weren't too critical. A common practice of producers was to make sure a set could be used over and over again. On Monday, it could be a forest ranger's office for one serial. Redress it Wednesday, and we're in North Africa for a chapter of another. Fortunately, Raiders could afford to realize what the scriptwriter imagined. This set fills an entire soundstage. It never will be used again, since most of it will be demolished in the film. Doubling for me in this sequence is Irish stuntman Martin Grace. His main gag will involve one of the 30-foot-high idols. Steven Spielberg had virtually every shot of the film storyboarded. For the upcoming complex, expensive scene, the preparation was especially important.
Carefully!
Indiana and his friend Sala have finally located the buried Egyptian temple, known as the Well of Souls. The long-sought-after Ark of the Covenant is down there, but so also are things that nightmares are made of.
Why does the floor move?
Snakes. Why did it have to be snakes?
We gotta get Robert down here. We don't have enough snakes to make the scene work. Just the set's too big for the amount of snakes that we have. And we hardly have enough small snakes for even an insert. Literally 2,000 snakes in the set are swallowed up so quickly. We have to get more snakes. You know what we really need? We need about 7,000 snakes in addition to the 2,000 we have here to make it work.
Some of the snakes were poisonous. All could bite. A doctor stood by at all times with anti-venom serum. At first, most of the crew were a bit spooked, to say the least. 2 weeks filming with thousands of snakes. Yet remarkably, within a few days, the crew seemed not to mind them. Somehow they got to know which were the dangerous ones and which were the harmless ones. None, however, took direction well.
You don't like fire? You do like fire. You love fire. In the script, you're supposed to hate fire. Why do you like fire? You're ruining my movie. You are.
Are you scared of snakes?
I hate them.
Are you really? How about you?
I had a phobia of snakes.
They don't bother me at all. When I was a kid, I worked in a Boy Scout camp as a nature counselor. We used to collect them, you know, run and catch every snake we could. And I had no fear of them whatsoever. I'm surprised. I mean, when I go around talking about the picture, doing publicity and stuff, I am amazed at the number of people that's the most frightening thing in the picture to them are the snakes. And they said, how can you stand to work with all those snakes?
Since they didn't bother me, I didn't mind doing the first scene with them. I'd have to rappel off the statue 40 feet to the ground. A bit physical, but not requiring a stuntman.
Steven, I'll come down in a second.
Okay,
as soon as he comes up, I'm coming down.
See where he is when he's 40
And we'll do it the real way. We're all set now.
No,
Coming down.
Steadily, steadily, steadily. Whoa! Right. Now, whoa. Carefully, carefully. You're all right in there. Good. Now, gently, boys, gently, gently. Oh, yes, good, good. Ready? Whoa. Sorry,
snakes jump back at the same time Indy jumps back, and we do a long push in.
The moment of triumph is at hand for Indiana. At long last, the Ark of the Covenant is about to be his.
Don't touch that.
Indiana has foiled the Nazis before, but now it's their turn.
Come on down here. I'll show you. Thank you,
They'll take the Ark away from him. They plan to bury him alive, along with Marion.
What was briefly yours is now mine.
Stop it!
Into yet another tense cliffhanger. How the heck can Indiana save Marion this time?
If she falls, she goes into the snakes. But that shouldn't bother her because the fall will kill her.
I'm going to get some mustard now.
Spence is really killing you, huh, Harrison?
It's stuntwoman Wendy Leach doubling Karen Allen for these perilous shots.
Fredo, you get your hand off of me!
Karen never did get to enjoy the company of reptiles.
Harrison is in his big boots and his gloves and his pants and his leather clothes and stuff, and I had this little sort of thing and naked arms and nothing on my legs and bare feet and could stand them on my feet.
Next, the major stunt of the entire temple sequence.
Hi, good morning, Martin. How are you? Good day for you.
Martin Grace is to ride the statue down when it topples.
Peace is just rocking it back and forth, and the arm drops off.
I'd like to go up and just have a look at it.
He's under some pressure. If the stunt doesn't go right the first time, it will take 4 expensive days to prepare for reshooting.
The jackal, as I recall, was maybe 28, 29 feet high, plaster of Paris, but still incredibly heavy. And they made it, we put big hydraulic air rams on one leg and hinged it at the bottom of it. So we knew exactly the plane that it was going to fall on.
Yeah, it could only fall one way.
It could only fall one way if everything went right. And we had a huge breakaway wall that it broke through. It was your device to get out of that particular trap that you found yourself in.
Done in one take, even though an important cue was mistimed.
Yes, it went too soon. And I mean, that is when you have to think very fast. I was actually hanging down and started going. I should have been actually in my position. So, I mean, stunt people are very fast-thinking people. And in situations like that, you have to think very fast and get it together. We've got sort of lightning reflexes, very sharp minds, and a great combination comes up with the goods.
Instead of having one of those ordinary neighborhood parties, we're having something better.
That line to stay on. But the guys that don't pretend, the ones who really do it, and sometimes tragically lose their lives doing it, well, we all know they're a special breed. If 40 years ago you'd asked an actor about Yakima Canute or the other great stuntmen of his time, they'd have told you the same thing I'm telling you now. We couldn't have done it without him.
And in turn, if you mention Yakima Canute to stuntmen today, they'll probably tell you if it weren't for him, they'd be in another line of work. Whether wrestling a stallion in a Harry Carey serial or jumping 6 horses in John Ford's stagecoach, Canute, with the creativity he brought to stunt work, is responsible for the great respect now accorded the craft. Stunt coordinator Glenn Randall and Terry Leonard carried his legacy to the production of Raiders, along with the 13 other men and women whose names the public doesn't know. Outstanding contributions to this action film is their legacy to us, the moviegoers.
Special Dukes of Hazzard episode, Boss Hogg tries to frame a pretty hitchhiker, and it's up to Bo and Luke to put the brakes on the boss. Then the world premiere movie, The Return of the Beverly Hillbillies, starring Buddy Ebsen, Donna Douglas, Werner Klemperer, Nancy